Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Tiara. This is my first video, and I decided to do something very personal, something the most sincere to my heart. I'm gonna do a story time about how I lost my mom August 25th, 2017. So I'm gonna start from the beginning, how I lost my mom to pulmonary fibrosis. It's like a very deadly, it's a fatal lung disease. It's like no cure, basically no chances or whatever. You only get once you get diagnosed, you only get a 3 to 5 year lifespan. It's crazy. Never even heard of it until my mom had it, but a lot of people are affected by it. But so my point of this video is to really raise awareness. I really want to start raising awareness on pulmonary fibrosis. Really nothing that they could do for it. It's just after a while it just takes over, and then it's basically but I'm gonna get into all of that. So we'll start off about how my mom first found out or whatever. So anyway, about in 2000, and I think it was 2012, I believe. I'm not sure, I forget why, but I remember she went to go get a biopsy. I think they saw something like a spot on her lungs. So she went to go get a biopsy, but every time she would go, nothing really, it would never really tell what it was. Mind you, this was in 2012. So nothing really happened. She went to a couple appointments or whatever, and I believe she might have met with a lung doctor, but I'm not sure. I can't remember at that time. And then I remember I had my daughter in 2013, and I remember shortly after I had her, my mom she would notice that she would getting more out of breath walking up and down the stairs, and so she found I believe she finally went back to the doctor, and that's when they put her on oxygen and stuff, and then that's when they started doing the process. She started seeing a lung doctor and stuff like that. So they were saying they thought she had lupus and all that other stuff, but all that will always come back negative. So they still it was basically, they really still didn't know what it was. They were saying they were thinking COPD because she was a long-term smoker, but she wasn't smoking. It was years since she smoked, once she, started having these lung problems. So she was on oxygen for a little bit, and they did another biopsy, and it really didn't show nothing again. So then they had to do a more invasive one where they had to go into her chest and to go in there to get an actual piece of her lung so they could actually see. So I remember that. That was crazy. That was scary at that time. This was, I believe at this time it was 2014 now. So she went to the hospital. They did the biopsy, and they she was having complications after that biopsy, but she recovered. But they still I remember they were saying it was either IPF or PF, pulmonary fibrosis, or I think it's called something, I forget. I'm not sure the exact word. Pulmonary fibrosis, the regular pulmonary fibrosis they were saying, or the IPF, and that's the really deadly fast acting one. So they was even after the biopsy, they still wasn't sure which one she had. So after that, she was still on oxygen, still seeing the lung doctor and everything, and she was doing good for the most part. She was on 2 liters of oxygen, and they was basically saying her lung doctor was basically saying well, you're only on 2 liters, so we're not gonna really look into getting into a lung transplant. I say if you was on 6 or 7, we could put you on the list, all that stuff. So time going by, she's doing fairly well. It would be times she would be in and out the hospital, but nothing too serious. But so I remember time went by, it was two, now it's let's fast forward to 2016, mind you. At this point, my mom's doing real good. Like, we're like, oh, you doing real good. She was even like walking without her, like, she would have to have her oxygen like 24/7. But she started getting to the point where she didn't even like need the oxygen to do like certain things. Like, you know, she would get out the car to go to the store real quick, go outside the store, and she wouldn't need her oxygen. She was like, you know, walking around the house without her oxygen. So she was doing really good. So I remember this was February of 2016. Yeah, February 2016. Just as the day progressed, she just like her breathing just was getting worse and worse. I called the ambulance. They came in. They took her to the hospital. They put like a BiPAP machine on her. Like, she was actually doing okay. Well, not like okay, but like, you know. So they, after she was there for like a week, they sent her to a lung rehab. And like they just focused on like, you know, getting her lungs better. So she was there for like 2 weeks, and my mom, like, she really wanted to come home because she hated being there. So she came home like after she, like, you know, went off like the high flow. I think her oxygen went up like 4 or 5 liters from the 2 that she was already at. And I remember it was March 31st. I remember she went to the doctor that so like at 5 o'clock in the morning, I saw my mom. I saw her. I woke up to go to the bathroom, I believe, and I looked, like, you know, saw her or whatever. Like, looked in the room, and she was like looking for her oxygen. And I'm just like, and she looked at like she was out of it. So I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? So she like, oh, I'm just looking for my oxygen. So I'm like, okay, I give her oxygen, but she's still like, mind you, I don't know how long she was like without oxygen or nothing. So like, you know, or any of that. So I go in there, you know, I give her oxygen. So I go back, like, so I go back in the room to check on her and like to see like did she recover, like, and she really, like, you know, didn't seem right. But she kept saying, I don't want to go to the hospital. I don't want to get stuck in the hospital. I was like, you know, I don't want to force her to go to the hospital, but I know I should, like, I don't know. So, you know, after a while went by, I went to go get one of those, it's called a pulse ox, so you could check, like, what your oxygen level and heart rate is. So I went to go find one, but by the time I got there, she was like, Tierra, called the ambulance. I can't breathe, you know. So I called the ambulance. She get rushed to the hospital. And once we get there, like, I just remember, like, I'm outside of the room, and I remember them working on her, and they're like, her oxygen was like 40, like real low when they first got to the hospital. I mean, when they first got to the house, and by the time she got to the hospital, it was up to like 70. So I'm like, okay, like, I talked to the paramedic, and he's like, yeah, she's doing a little better. So I'm thinking, okay, oh, good, her oxygen came up, you know. But then I'm about to go, as I'm like standing outside the emergency room that she's in, I hear the doctor say, you have to be intubated, like, you know, where they put the tube down your throat and, you know, they put you unconscious and stuff like that. And I heard my mom saying, I don't want to be intubated. And the doctor was like, well, if you're not intubated right now, you're going to die. And I'm like, my heart just dropped. Like, wow, mind you, this is April of, where was this? April 2017. I can't remember. Oh my goodness, like, I'm getting my days mixed up. So when she first went to the hospital, I think maybe it was 17. Yeah, I'm wrong. It was 2017. Sorry guys. That's when it happened. February, when her first onset was February of 17. Sorry about that, cause I'm like, wait, it's not adding up. It was February 2017. That's when it started happening. So this was April 1st, 2017. And she, you know, she had got intubated and all that. All my family rushed up there, and, you know, like, we was so scared. We like, oh my God, like, she might not make it, because the doctors was like, you know, it's not looking good. Her lungs is really bad, and, you know, she's not a candidate for a lung transplant, because, like, at the time she had gained more weight from, like, being on steroids and stuff. So it's like a lot of things you got to go through, and, you know, to be on the list or whatever. So they was basically like, oh, she's not a candidate for the transplant or whatever. So we're like, wow, it's like basically telling us it's nothing we could do or whatever. So days go on, like, and she actually started getting better. Like, the doctors and everybody was actually shocked, like, oh, she's actually improving. So doing better or whatever. And they like I believe she was in there because they was at first I think they was talking about giving her a trach because I think after 2 weeks they have to take the tube out your throat and give you a trach because it could cause infection. So after I mean yeah, so I think it was like she was in there like April 1st. I think she came out like April 11th, I believe. She was in there like almost 2 weeks, I believe. Yeah, she was in there like almost 2 weeks. So they finally, took it out, and she was doing good. Like, she was doing good. Like, she was actually getting up. Like, they had her doing physical therapy. Like, eventually they moved her to a regular room. Like, they moved her out of the ICU in a regular room, and they was like, okay, now we could look into getting you into a rehab to work on, your lungs getting better. So, again, the second time, I'm like, okay, she's doing better. Like, that's good. So, fast forward, well, not really fast forward, like a couple days later, so I believe she got out of the coma that they had her in, well, the, intubation that they had her in April 11th, I believe. And she got transferred to, like, the rehab by, like, I remember it was, like, around Easter. I think Easter of 2017. So it was like April 16th, I believe. So like a couple days later, she got transferred to the rehab, and she was like once again doing real good at the rehab. She constantly having visitors, so like we was constantly there, like making sure that she was okay. Helping her, like taking turns helping her and stuff like that, because you couldn't do everything. So I remember she was at the rehab for like maybe like 2 weeks maybe, and something ended up going on with her heart. Like, we was just literally, like, I remember I spent the night that night. It was a Saturday, I believe, or a Friday, one of them. And I spent the night with her at the rehab because she wanted me to. So, everything was good, like, I was checking on her in the middle of the night. Everything was good. Then she woke up. Like, when we woke up and whatever, I think after we got, like, I got her, helped her get dressed or something. I can't remember. I just remember her heart rate started going to, like, 200. And she was like her heart rate was like 200 beats per minute, and it was just like, but her oxygen was okay, but her heart rate was crazy. So I'm like, oh my god, now something with her heart is this is just too much. So like she had to get rushed to the hospital from the rehab, and they ended up saying she had something called AFib, and it was like it's common because with your lungs being so bad, your heart is working harder and stuff like that. So she was in the hospital again. And this was, I think by the time this was like, it had to be like, what, May maybe? She was in the hospital. Yeah, it was like, because she went to the rehab April, and then, like middle of April, and then she was then there for like 2 weeks or so. So it was like, I think it was like the beginning of May maybe. And that when she got rushed to the hospital for like her heart rate being so crazy high or whatever. So, they got it down. They put her on a heart medicine or whatever. And she, once again, doing better, recovering, doing good. So her doctor, like, one doctor wanted to send her back to the rehab, but her primary doctor wanted to send her home. Was like, you seem like you're doing way better. I think you should be home. I don't think you need rehab right now. So we went home. And I was a paranoid freak. I live with my mom. I was out of all my siblings. I got a sister and two brothers on my mom's side. So, like, well, no, it was me and my older brother. But he, like, at the time I wasn't working, and he worked a lot. So I was like, they all worked. Like, all my other siblings was working. So I was pretty much my mom, like, caregiver while they was working and stuff. So, like, and I was like I would get on my mom's nerves. Like, I'm like, I gotta check your oxygen every 2 seconds. She's like, oh, you just checked it. Like, but I was just so nervous. I was so scared because, I was afraid of losing my mom. So I would be checking her oxygen all the time. And, like, at first when she came home, it was, like, close to Mother's Day. And at first when she came home, she was doing good. But then after, like, a couple of days, I started noticing her oxygen started dropping again. And I'm like, Mom, your oxygen going down. She's like, oh, I'm fine, Tierra. I'm fine, don't worry about it, like, I'm not feeling out of breath, it's probably just, like, because my mom is the type that she don't want to let everybody know when she is, like, real bad off and sick and stuff, because, like, she don't want to worry us, because, I'm a panicker, like, I don't know, So she'll, like, when she was in pain and stuff like that, she really, like, kept it from us. So, like, I remember, like, a couple days, like, go by, and it was, like, it was Mother's Day at this point, and I was, like, like, we were all supposed to go out, like, me and all my siblings, my nieces, my nephews, you know, their wives and stuff like that. We were supposed to go out. But my mom was like, I don't feel good. So I remember my brother came over and he bought my mom some seafood, or, you know, she ate that, but I was still checking her oxygen and it wasn't right. And, you know, I wasn't trying to, like, you know, trying to make a big thing because my mom, like, didn't want me to. So my mom, like, all right, if if my oxygen don't go up by tomorrow morning, then I'll go to the hospital so you can stop bugging me. So it didn't go up. We went to the hospital again, and she got put in the ICU. But at this hospital, they, like, wasn't really a good hospital, so they was basically saying, like, oh, it's nothing more we could really do for you here. We did, like, basically everything that we could do. And it was just like, so, and this was in, mind you, after Mother's Day, May. So then, you know, they sent her to a different hospital, and, like, it was, like, in a different state. They sent her to a different hospital. So, like, you know, she went there, and, you know, like, at first, you know, her oxygen stuff was like, dropping a lot. And, like, I could tell, like, it was going up. Like, at this time, like, it went up to, when she was at the last hospital, I forgot to say, like, her oxygen was at, like, 15 now. Like, it went from being, I told you, like, when she first got diagnosed, it was only at 2 liters. And then when she had her first episode, it went, like, when she went to the rehab the first time, it was, like, 5. And then when she went, now, like, she's at the hospital, like, for what, the 3rd time or 4th time at this point, and, like, what, February, March, April, May, like, in 3 months, this is, like, her 4th time, like, getting admitted, like, for her lungs. So like, she was on, like, a lot of oxygen. She was still getting so out of breath on 15 liters of oxygen. So at that point, I'm getting worried, like, yo, this is not looking good. Like, 15 liters, like, you know, that's too much. Like, and they already said she wasn't a candidate for the lung transplant. So I'm just, like, so scared. So now we at the other hospital. And the other hospital is, like, it specializes in lungs and stuff. So, like, you know, they have more stuff to do for her. So, like, I felt a little better, you know. She didn't have to be intubated again. They was, like, had her on high oxygen and stuff. So she was doing better. And so that hospital, so I remember she was in there for a couple of weeks. So I remember it was, like, June 1st, June 2nd, like, she was trying to come home. So, you know, she was doing a little better. They were saying her oxygen was staying up or whatever. And she had to get a new oxygen tank, like a home oxygen tank that went up to 10 liters. Because they said they couldn't send her home on anything higher than 10. So, like, when she finally got down to being able to manage on 10, they sent her home. So I remember they sent her home on 10. This was, like, June 2nd. They sent her home on 10 liters, and she had like a CPAP machine that was supposed to help her too. And like the first, like, day or so, she was doing good. And then, you know, like I said, I was always on it, like, checking her oxygen every minute, I just wanted to keep checking it. Like, I wish I could constantly have it on, like, at the hospital, but, you know, she wasn't having it. So I checked her, kept checking it, excuse me. And when I started checking it, like, after, like, the second or third day, so it was probably like June. So she came home, I think, June 2nd. So probably like June, yeah, like, so June, like, I started noticing was going down, but then it would, like, fluctuate. Like, it would be like 1 minute it'd be like low, then it'd be going up to the 90s. So I said, maybe, you know, it's just not, you know, right, or whatever. So I remember June 6th, my aunt and my cousin came over because I was supposed to do their hair. But my mom oxygen was, like, not good, and I remember because her room and the bathroom is literally, like, connected, so she, like, could hardly go to the bathroom. My aunt took her to the hospital. We was gonna call the ambulance, but she like, I'm fine, just take me. So we get there, and her oxygen was, like, the emergency room they were saying it was like 60. It was going down, and they like, oh, you might have to be intubated again. We all in the emergency room at this point. She was up and okay, and her oxygen, like, every time she would talk, do anything, like, she was still aware and alert, but every time she would talk and do anything, like, her oxygen would drop. And I'm just like, me and my family, like, my aunt, my sister, my uncle, we all in there like, this not right. So we talking to the doctor like, shouldn't y'all piss something else because her oxygen is dropping? They like, oh well, this is fairly normal or whatever. Like, whatever. No, it ain't. Like, y'all should give her something. So anyway, so everybody left. It was just then it was me, my sister, and her wife, and we was all there. And you know, my mom, they had at night they want to put the CPAP on you because it's like better for, or BiPAP, one of them, CPAP, BiPAP. They want to put that on you at night to do better. So they did that, and you know, she was good. So I left because my daughter had school in the morning. So I'm like, my sister and they was there. So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna leave y'all. It was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, maybe 2 o'clock, and I was like, I'm gonna leave y'all, and you know, y'all, you know, when she get in the room, because we're still in the emergency room at this point, and it was like, she went to the hospital probably like 1 o'clock, and no, yeah, probably like, I don't know, sometime in the afternoon, and she didn't get a room till like, probably like 5 o'clock, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, because I remember my sister, I came home, fell asleep, I remember my sister texted me like, here's all her information, this is the room she's in, and this is her code for like if we want to call in the middle of the night. Mind you, this was like at 5 o'clock that I happened to woke up and see my sister texting. I think I dozed back off, and I dozed back off after I seen that text, and the hospital's calling me. So I'm like, oh my god, what is they calling me for? So my heart is pounding like, oh my god, like what is they calling me for? Like, and I don't do well with that, so I didn't even answer. I was scared, like I didn't want to hear them say, oh, your mom died or something like that. So I'm like, all right, maybe they'll leave a message. Maybe they just wanted to ask me something. So like 2 to 3 minutes passed by. They didn't leave a message. So I'm like, you know what? I gotta call back. So as I'm calling them back, they're calling me back. So there's a doctor on the phone, and she's like, you know, basically like, so your mom at 5 o'clock this morning, you know, she went into what is it called? Distress, like, oh my god, I can't think of the name. She went into distress, like her lungs went into distress, basically, like, and they're basically saying like, they're like, you know, she's at end stage lung disease. But mind you, before all of this, like I said, they at first, when she first had the biopsy back in 2014, they was telling us like, oh, we don't know if you have the IPF or the PF. So, and it was like the IPF is the fast-acting pulmonary fibrosis, and the PF, the pulmonary fibrosis, is just, you know, it's still, you know, not a good disease, but it's fast-acting. So we thinking like, so we just, okay, my phone died. I had to get my daughter a phone. So so if the videos look a little different, that's why. But I think I was saying, oh yeah, at the time they were basically saying like, you know, back in 2014, like, you know, they don't know if she had the IPF or the PF or whatever. So we assumed, like, you know, she was doing so good for all these years, you know, so we assumed she just, like, it wasn't that serious. And, like, I don't know, I regret that, too, because it's just, like, I feel like I didn't pay attention enough. Like, I don't know, maybe I could have did more or something. That's how I feel, because I'm, like, you know, I remember hearing that going to the doctor with her, but she was doing like, you know, so well over these years. So I'm thinking like, you know, maybe it wasn't nothing. Like, I don't know. Because they was just like acting like they didn't know nothing. And then there was a point in time they was saying like, it's a chance she could come off the oxygen. So, you know, they like, and then they was just basically saying they didn't know they were thinking she had lupus that was coming back negative, but they kept trying to say it's COPD, emphysema, like all this different stuff. And it's just like, you know, why now? I don't know. Like, it was just crazy. So, anyway, so where was I at? Oh yeah, so they called me basically like, oh, your mom's in end-stage lung disease, so, you know, do you want us to revive her? And I'm like, yeah, like, what do you mean, do I want you to revive her? Yes, I want you to try to save my mom at all costs, or whatever. They're like, well, it's likely even if we do revive her, she's still not going to make it, da-da-da-da. So I'm like, all right, whatever, I'll be up there. So I go tell my brother, you know, me and my brother, we over here bawling our eyes out, crying. So I call all my family, like, they said, because the lady said she's not going to make it. That's what she said on the phone, like, she's not going to make it. So I'm calling all my family, like, get up to the hospital. They said my mom not going to make it. Just get up to the hospital right now. So we get up to the hospital, you know, it was the hardest thing ever seeing her. She had to be intubated again. The tube down her throat went in the room. She was unconscious, you know. And I was, you know, had to sign papers and stuff. It was just so hard because I'm just like, oh my God, this is probably it. And I was scared that I was going to get up to the hospital and my mom was going to be going. I was actually scared to go to the hospital. So I'm like, I thought she was going to be going. So I'm like, I don't even want to go up there. Like, so, you know, they basically, you know, the doctor takes me and my family all in the room, and they're like, he's like basically telling us to let her go. Like, and we're like, no, we're not letting her go. She's still breathing. She still have a heartbeat. Like, no, we're not letting her go. And he's like, oh, well, it's just going to keep happening. And, you know, it's no cure for this. And she's not a candidate for the lung transplant. So, you know, they wanted to put my mom on hospice. So me and my siblings, we're like, no, we're not doing it. Like, we wasn't ready to let go. Like, no. So once again, like, my mom started approving a little better. At this time, mind you, this is like the 4th or 5th time. And at this time, we're back at the first hospital that already said they couldn't really do much for her, but it was the closest one to the house. Well, one of the closest ones to the house that she wanted to go to. So I don't know why, but and I really regret going there. So we get there, and it basically is like, I kind of feel like the doctor was basically felt like, oh, you know, she was here before for the same thing, and even stop. She was here pretty much for the same thing. So, like, it's nothing we can do. So, you know, basically, they was doing the same treatment. And she was doing a little better and stuff like that. But this time, they tried to take the tube out after, like, 2 weeks, I believe. They tried to take the tube out, and she wasn't doing good without it. So, they had to intubate her again, and then schedule for her to have a trach in. She didn't want it. She was saying no at first, like, no, I don't want the trach. Don't give it to me. I don't want that. Da, da, da. So we like talked her into it, and she finally did it. So after she got the trach, they had to send her to rehab. She went back to the first rehab. The first rehab she was at, the one that specializes in lungs, because, you know, that's what they specialize in. So we like, oh, they're really good. They'll probably get her, you know. So she was there, and she got there. She was doing good at first, like, and they gave her the thing where she could talk, like, on a trach, like, so we could actually hear her talk and stuff. And her oxygen and stuff was staying up, but you could tell she was, like, down and stuff. But, like, it was just, like, she'll be doing good for a while and then start doing bad. Like, she was, like, you know, when she first got there, she had to get her appendix out. It was a lot. And this was, like, end of June at this point. It was, like, June 26th. I remember I think it was, like, June 26th when she got transferred from the hospital to the rehab. And she was doing okay for a while. She had to get, like, a couple surgeries in between, because it was, like, I don't know, like, her appendix, when they first said she had appendicitis or something like that. And then something else with her, I forget, something, like, with her bowels or something. And she had to get surgery for that. But it just seemed like after her second surgery, she wasn't doing good. Like, she wasn't doing good at all. Her oxygen wasn't staying up no more. And, you know, like, the doctor basically came in and, like, you know, had a meeting with us in front of my mom and was like, you know, it's not looking good. Like, basically telling us that my mom had only a golf ball size left of her lung. Like, out of both her lungs, she only had a golf ball size. And it was like my mom was saying, like, she didn't want to go and stuff, like, she was scared. And then, you know, that made it harder for us. But, like, she started doing a little better after that. And, you know, we like, okay, she's doing a little better. So at this point, the rehab she was in wanted to send her to a long-term rehab. That was a short-term rehab. They only wanted you there for, like, I don't even remember. So she got sent to another rehab. This rehab was terrible. It was like they wasn't constantly checking her oxygen and all that other stuff, but we had our own. So we would come in there and check. So I remember it was crazy. Her birthday, August 20th, we all was up there seeing her, and I could tell, like, something wasn't right. Like, she just didn't seem like her, like, well, she been having seeming like herself, because, you know, it was like, it was taking a toll on her. Like, she was like, you know, from a person going from an independent person doing everything for themselves to now you can't even wipe your own butt, you can't go to the bathroom on your own. Like, it was a lot. So I was like seeing my mom get depressed and, like, just, like, you know, but I knew that she was, like, holding on, staying strong for us and her grandkids. But it was, like, so hard. So she got to the rehab, I believe, August 16th. Yeah. August 16th. I believe it was August 16th. And, you know, she didn't like it. She was like, oh, I want to get out of here. Da, da, da. So we like, Mom, just stick it out, you know, or whatever. And on her birthday, August 20th, like, we was looking at her little trick thing. And me and my sister was like, it looked like it got yellow stuff if that's infection. Her oxygen and stuff was, like, okay at the time. But then I remember the next day, I, like, text her. Like, even though she couldn't talk or nothing, I text her. And she, like, text back like some gibberish, and I'm like, what the heck was going on? So we called up there, and they like, oh, she's doing okay, she's doing good, she just had rehab, da, da, da. So I'm like, okay, but I wasn't gonna go up there that day. This is August 21st at the time, the day after her birthday. They like, so I wasn't gonna go up there at first, but then like I asked my mom like, are you okay? And it was like a whole bunch of gibberish, but at the end it said no. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going up there. So I go up there, and you know, I'm checking her oxygen, and it's just like her heart rate and oxygen is high. On our pulse ox, it's saying like her oxygen was like 67 and her heart rate was like 202. But somehow when the doctors and them, they checked it, it was like higher. So I'm like, but no. So I went to the store around the corner and bought another one. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna see. But that one was saying low too. So I'm like, come on now, this ain't right. So I'm there. So then it was like shift change, and then the next guy came in and he was checking it. He was like, yeah, it's not staying up. If not, I'm gonna have to send her to the hospital. So anyway, I had left because I had to go somewhere right quick. I had left and came back. When I came back, the ambulance was there transporting her. So I'm following the ambulance. They get there. We get to the hospital, August 21st. We get to the hospital. They're like, you know, she's on the highest settings. She's not doing good. It's not looking good. You know, you already know she's not a candidate for the lung transplant. We like, blah, blah, blah. We heard that all before. But I'm like, they told us this all before, whatever. So my mom in the hospital again. You know, just they had to put her out again, like put her in a coma because like when she's up, her oxygen, her oxygen is dropping. So like they say they like, oh, we want a meeting with the family. So all my family, my aunt, my uncles, my brothers, my sister, like they all talk to us and basically saying the same thing as the last hospital. This is a new hospital, and basically saying like, oh, you know, it's not looking good. But at first we're like, no, we're not doing it. We're not pulling the plug. We're not doing that. But then I remember they called me out. So like, you know, we all there still visiting. We still say no, we're not doing it. We're just gonna see what happens with her. If she's going to pass away, let her pass away on her own. We don't want you to pull no plug. Let her pass away. But then like I started thinking like if she passed away, like the only way how she'll pass away, like if she go into like her heart stop, like, and I was so scared. Like I started becoming scared to go in the room because I'm like, her heart won't stop, and I don't want to see that. So anyway, so like we finally, it was a lot. It was crazy because we like actually had to make the decision to like let her go because it's just like nothing's working. She's suffering at this point. Like it's like she really, it's pretty much like she don't got no lungs left. Like it was a hard decision. Like I know like my family, we got into arguments and fights at the hospital because it was like my sister, she ain't want to do it. Like I understand, nobody wanted to do it, but like we was just tired of seeing her suffering. Like it went from her being okay to like it happened in February. Now it's August. It's only 6 months, and like she went from this person to this person in 6 months, like, and it's like she's only deteriorating. Like she couldn't move her hands and stuff. She couldn't even talk. She couldn't eat, none of that, because it's like she had the trach down. So it's just like she was just getting fed through like the tube, and it was just like my mom used to always say, if I'm a vegetable, if I can't move, if I can't talk, if I can't do none of that, I don't want to live. And even though like she was telling like to resuscitate her, like if she was, but I was just like, you know, we had to do what's best for her. So we finally made the decision, and they did it. Like it's like a process, like, and it's just like I went in a room when they like turned it off. I mean, like turned her oxygen off, and they like put morphine on, and I was like, went in a room, and I'm like, Mom, you know, I'm here, and she squeezed my hand. Excuse me, I'm getting a little emotional. And she squeezed my hand, and like I just left the room because I couldn't take it no more. So it's just like, you know, she left. I left the room. You know, everybody was like still, like a lot of people were like still in there and stuff. So it was a hard, excuse me, but so like I guess that's the last thing I remember. But So we like this, like the process started at like 12, and they said like once they take the tube out, she probably won't, cause her lungs are so bad, she probably won't last. She probably only lasts a couple minutes. My mom lasted 4 hours. Like I'm like, and then I started thinking like, damn, maybe I shouldn't have did this, cause like she's trying to fight, she's trying to hold on. So, and it's just crazy because it's just like I like actually saw her and watched her take her last, like some of her last breaths. Like the first whole hour that they took it off, like I was seeing her like take her last breaths. But then like I left, I couldn't take it no more, you know. So I left out, and I actually went home, and I'm like, all right, well maybe she'll still be hanging on or whatever. I went home right quick, and it's like as soon as I went home, my uncle called me like, your mom passed away at 6:06. And I was like, I just rushed back up to the hospital. And when I walked in the room, my mom looked so peaceful. It was like a peace. Like, it was like a peace that was over her face. Like, for the past 6 months, 7 months, she been struggling, just looking in pain. And it's just like the peace that was on her face when I saw her after, you know, she passed away was like, wow, you look really peaceful. Like, you're not suffering no more. So, like, that's the only thing that helps me deal with it. Like, you know, she was suffering, so now she's at peace and stuff. I miss her every day, and it's just like, it's just crazy. But I just really wanted to raise awareness. Like, I hope this video can touch other people and that's dealing with this, and that family members is dealing with this. Like, pulmonary fibrosis is like a serious disease. Like, you know, like with like cancer and stuff like that, it's like a fighting chance. You have a fighting chance because, you know, you got chemo, radiation, all of that. But with this disease, pulmonary fibrosis, idiotic pulmonary fibrosis, I believe that's the name. It's like, it's basically nothing. Like, they'll give you the steroids, they'll give you the antibiotics and stuff like that. But after that, it's like after a while, your lungs, it's like they say your lungs is like fiberglass. And it just takes over, and it's just like your lungs and stuff become so tight that you can't do nothing. And it's just like, I really hope that one day there's some type of medicine or something out there. Like, I know they got a couple medicines that could slow it down, but like something that could give these people that's fighting with pulmonary fibrosis a fighting chance, because it's just basically like a death sentence. So, where the picture? Where the picture? I'm just gonna show my mom. Like,
say someone's coming.
Ava, my daughter, wants to show her grandma. This is her. Like, I miss her so much. She was so beautiful. And it's just like, that's all I want to do is just raise awareness. But just thank you for watching.
Give this a big thumbs up.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
And hit that notification.
Notification button. Thank you guys for watching.